فرش التراب يضمني وهو غطائي.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. This is Mohannad. We're recording the series Journey to the Hereafter. We are now at the Dearborn south end at the cemetery, and inshallah we will apply a sunnah, a practice of the Prophet ﷺ, which is to visit the graveyard. The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith, ألا إني كنت قد نهيتكم عن زيارة القبور. I used to forbid you from visiting the graves. But then he says sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ألا فزوروها فإنها تذكر بالآخرة. Go and visit it because it reminds about the hereafter. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to say this dua whenever he would enter the graveyard. He would say, Assalamu alaikum ahl al-diyar min al-muslimina wal-mu'minin. Peace be upon you, O people who are dwelling in the graveyard, from the Muslims and from the believers. وَيَرْحَمُ اللَّهُ الْمُسْتَقْدِمِينَ مِنَّا وَالْمُسْتَأْخِرِينَ. And may Allah mercy those who came before us and those who will come after us. وَإِنَّا إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ بِكُمْ لَاحِقُونَ. Insha'Allah, one day we will definitely follow you and be among the dead people among you. Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu, whenever he would stand next to a grave, he would cry and cry heavily. And he was asked by his friends, you remember paradise and hellfire and you don't cry, but you remember the grave and you cry and cry a lot. And then he said that I heard the Prophet ﷺ saying, القبر أول منزل من منازل الآخرة. The grave is the first stage in the afterlife. فإن تنجو فما بعده أيسر منه. So if you are saved from the punishment in the grave, then everything after it would be easy, would become very smooth. وإن لم تنجو منه, if you are not saved from the punishment in the grave, فما بعده أشد. Then everything, every stage, every punishment after it would be very scary and would be very difficult. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, ما رأيت منظرا إلا والقبر أفظع منه. I have never seen anything, any object, except the grave is more terrifying and more horrible. Another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, أكثروا ذكر هادم اللذات. Always frequently remember death, the destroyer of all pleasures. فإنه ما من يوم يمر إلا والقبر ينادي. Every single day, the grave will make an announcement. The grave will start talking. And this grave will say, يا ابن آدم أنا بيت O son of Adam, I am the strange land. Whoever enters me becomes a foreigner, unknown and forgotten. أنا بيت الوحدة. I am the house of loneliness. أنا بيت التراب. I am the house of dirt. وأنا بيت الدود. And I am the house of worms and insects. And فإذا دفن العبد المؤمن, for a believer to be buried inside the grave will say مرحبا وأهلا. He will be welcoming that believer, and he will tell him, إن كنت أحب من يمشي على ظهر إلي. Out of all the people who were walking on the face of earth, walking towards me, you were the most beloved one. فإذا وليتك اليوم فسترى صنيعي بك. Since now, today, you're my guest, you will see how I will take care of you. فيتسع له قبره مد بصره. So the grave will open for him as far as he can see. ويفتح له باب إلى الجنة. And a door or a window will be open for this person towards Jannah, and he will start seeing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prepared for him in Al-Jannah. Now for the disbeliever, the Prophet ﷺ continues in the hadith, فَإِذَا دُفِنَ الْعَبْدُ الْفَاجِرُ أَوْ الْكَافِرُ. For a servant, for a slave, who's either a disbeliever or a fajr. And fajr is a big sinner. A fajr is someone who rips apart obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The grave will tell him, لا مرحبا ولا أهلا. The grave will be mad from him, he will never welcome him. And will tell him, إن كنت لأبغض من يمشي على ظهر إلي. Out of all the people who were walking on the face of earth, walking towards me, You were the most hated one. فإذا وليتك اليوم وصرت إلي. Now today you're my guest. Today you are inside me. I will take care of you. فيلتئم عليه حتى يلتقي أضلاعه. And the Prophet ﷺ said that this grave will close on him and actually will break his ribs. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he was describing this hadith, when the Prophet ﷺ was describing this hadith, he closed his fingers like this. So this will break his ribs. And then the Prophet ﷺ continues and says, يُقَيَّضْ لَهُ سَبْعُونَ تِنِّينًا. 70 dragons, 70 beasts will be assigned to him. If only one of them would blow fire into the earth, it will never leave anything green on it. حَتَّى يُفْضَى بِهِ إِلَى الْحِسَابِ. This will be his punishment. This will be his humiliation until the day of judgment starts. And then the Prophet ﷺ concludes and says, فَإِنَّمَا الْقَبْرُ رَوْضَةٌ مِنْ رِيَاضِ الْجَنَّةِ أَوْ حُفْرَةٌ مِنْ حُفَرِ النَّارِ. Because the grave is either a garden of paradise or a pit of hellfire. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save us from the punishment in the grave.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, حتى إذا جاء أحدهم الموت قال رب ارجعون لعلي أعمل صالحا فيما تركت كلا إنها كلمة هو قائلها ومن ورائهم برزخ إلى يوم يبعثون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, until when death comes to one of them, he will say, my Lord, send me back, so that I may do a good in that which I left behind. No, it is but a word that he speaks, and behind them is barzakh, a barrier, until the day when they will be resurrected. So, just like a thought on this, and where we are and about the ayah. We just woke up I woke up about an hour ago. So if you're watching this, it's Wednesday morning. The first thing I said, obviously, when I woke up was, Alhamdulillah alladhi ahyana ba'da ma amatana wa ilayhi nushur. So we thanked Allah for giving us life again, because we tasted something similar to the real death. And when you're here, you wonder that one day is gonna come where you're gonna die or you're gonna sleep and not wake up. And these people that have died, you can only imagine what their wishes are. They would like to come back, and they would like to better their relationships with their parents, and to fix whatever problems they have in their lives. So I guess my brief message to you, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this on Thursday, is that as long as your heart is still beating, as long as you hear me right now, that there's still hope. Whatever personal issues you have in your own life, whatever problems you have with your family, however much you feel that people don't understand you, as long as you still hear me right now, there still remains hope. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His door is still open for you to go back to Him. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow this to be a positive reminder for all of us, and to allow us to be affected by this, so that we may change. Ameen.
نهاية حالي فرش التراب